Okay, we are holding steady with attendees.
Wonderful. Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. Welcome to the Housing Stability Council meeting for August. I am Mary Lee. I use she or my name. I am Chinese American, and I am stepping in to facilitate for Chair Claire Hall. With that, I will turn it over to Shiloh for roll call.
Thank you, Chair Lee. For the record, Councilmember DeFontorum and Chair Hall have been excused from today's meeting. Councilmember Farrell. Councilmember Farrell.
I'm here. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
Had to let my cat out.
Acting Chair Lee.
Here.
Councilmember Mena.
Here.
Councilmember Rogers.
Here.
Thank you. For the record, we do have quorum today.
Thank you, Shiloh. I have an exceedingly brief report of the chair because I'm not really the chair. We had some last minute news that Councilmember Sandoval has, due to multiple conflicting commitments, has resigned his position from the Housing Stability Council as of last month. And I just want to say that I was really sorry to hear that information. Councilmember Sandoval and I joined very shortly together onto the council, and his incredible ability to find the connections between and among many disparate ideas and initiatives, I always appreciated and relied upon. He was consistent, he was thorough, and he did it with a heart and a twinkle in his eye that just made it a pleasure to work for him. I know that Director Bell and the organization is looking for to seat new colleagues of ours to the council, but I just wanted to take a moment and say how much I appreciate and have such gratitude for his service, and invite any of the other council members who are here who want to make a comment to just send him out some love.
Thank you, Charlie. What I would say is that, I joined the council about 1.5 years ago, and unfortunately never had a chance to meet with him in person. Had several conversations in private, and I found him to be an amazing individual, and sorry for the challenging schedules that he has to resign, and I look forward to just continuing being in touch with him in a different area. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Mena. Anyone else who would want to just offer a quick words of love?
I would just like to say that I'm the newest member on the council, and I too did not get to meet him in person, but was also really impressed by the questions that he had and the foresight that he brought to the council. And so, yes, it's going to be a void, but I look forward to working with the next appointed member. So if you're listening out there, thank you for your service.
Thank you, Councilmember Rogers. Yeah, please, Councilmember Farrell.
I did have the pleasant experience of meeting him, and it was a wonderful day. And he's just such a thoughtful and insightful individual, so much knowledge. Really holds up that equity lens with a lot of dependability, and I'm going to just miss having him on the council. And it's great that he's in such high demand. That's good for whoever else has his time.
Absolutely, absolutely. His teaching position at the university is quite demanding, and so we're going to look for him to be training up the next generation to come up behind us and keep the work going. So thank you for taking that moment. Shiloh has on the screen a mock-up of the plaque that will be offered to him. And with that, I will turn it to Caleb Yant for the director's report.
Thank you so much, Chair Lee. Also not the director, so also will keep my comments relatively brief, but I appreciate the words for Councilmember Sandoval we'll make sure to find a way to pass that along to him in case that he's not listening in, which I would assume would be the case after years of service on the first Friday of every month in these meetings. But I just want to extend from my seat and from OHCS staff's perspective, just our appreciation for the leadership and the time that and energy that Councilmember Sandoval brought to this, particularly during this formative time as an agency where we are still trying to ascend to a higher place. We're trying to use our resources in a way that is purposeful in our intent and also holds us accountable to our impact. And that's one of the things that I think Councilmember Sandoval often was able to bring a unique lens, push towards considering social and built environment as we build more housing to ensure we are centering race equity and revitalizing our kind of cities and towns across Oregon. So that, you know, and his, for those who don't know, Councilmember Sandoval also served on the Land Conservation and Development Commission, LCDC, which is the kind of the board for the land use agency in the state. And so his perspective on both of those was really, really formative in thinking about what that agency did really well and maybe not, what we do really well and maybe not, and how frankly we engage with you all as a council to maximize the impact that you are able to have providing policy oversight to our agency. So just huge appreciation. And one more thing, just as a father, as a public servant who aspires to live a values-driven life, watching him excel in his career at U of O through his time as a Housing Stability Council member, while continuously giving more and more time into volunteer roles, into our agency, and to others, it's been inspirational to me to look at how I'm using my privilege and my positionality to give back to my community. So Councilmember Sandoval will be missed, and great appreciation for him. I'll keep my rest of my comments relatively brief. Two more things. One, just thrilled to let you all know with last month's funding awards, we have together surpassed the statewide housing plan goal of tripling the existing affordable rental housing units. That was our 5-year goal for more than 25,000 homes statewide. So after surpassing that, we've completed all 3 of the statewide housing plan affordable rental housing priorities that were in there specific to affordable rental housing. One was around funding 1,200 permanent supportive housing units. One was around tripling the number of units in rural Oregon, and so those were achieved earlier this year. And then this is around the 25,000 homes statewide. So you know, I think it's important to take a moment to reflect on this accomplishment as an agency, as an industry, as a community. It's so important for staff, for council members, for our community partners across the state who have worked tirelessly to achieve this. This is not the watermark of our progress. In fact, the scale and impact will continue to grow, and we also want to take this moment to uplift this kind of historic progress and thank council, thank staff, and thank partners who have made this happen.
Caleb, can I just jump in here? Thank you for giving us the opportunity to take this moment. And I want to invite us, in addition to thinking about the numbers and the units and all of that, is just to think for a moment about our neighbors and the people in our community who are now housed as the result of the tremendous work of everyone in the agency, in the developer community, in the services community, in the larger community. Our neighbors, that number of human beings and families, is now housed with dignity, with safety, with permanency. So I just want us to take a moment to think about the people who are gonna be and are in those houses. Congratulations to everyone. It is an amazing, amazing moment for us. And it's not done, as you say, it's not enough. And we, right now, rededicate ourselves to continued work. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Chair Lee. I'll give a moment in case any other council members want to weigh in. Well, I'll end this just by saying, truly from my role, I know in talking to Director Bell, who's in LeGrand at an event today, which is why she is not here for some number, I should know this, but I don't, of that 25,000 goal opening their doors in that community. Thank you for holding us accountable. Thank you for being a community of builders. Our work ahead in pursuit of progress will require more of that, right? It requires your role as Housing Stability Council, and that it requires a community. It will require us to lean further into race equity and consciousness building, and to build with community and focusing on continuously improving how we do what we do and accountability to our intentions. So thank you for that. The last comment I will make is related to Housing Stability Council membership. We have a few vacancies. The application deadline was last week for members to apply. And I think we had somewhere in the neighborhood of 12 to 15 or 16 applicants. And so per kind of the standard process, Director Bell is working with the governor's team to make decisions in growing those boards and growing this board, replacing those vacancies. So more to come soon on that. I know that we are meeting quorum by exactly the right amount of people today, and we should have new members coming on to the Housing Stability Council soon. And with that, I will end my update.
Great, thank you. Any council members have any questions or reflections or comments on the director's report?
Just real quick, that I would just echo in terms of the tremendous amount of work that the staff has done in this past few years, and the amount of resources that have been put out in the streets, and as Chair Lee mentioned, for the benefit of those most in need and our neighbors that really need the housing and only proves that we need to continue the work, and there's more to be done in the coming years. So congratulations, though. It's a tremendous feat.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes, it's exciting times, and it's just, you're right, we need to celebrate right now, but not lose sight of we have to do more and continue to do more. And yes, I look forward to continuing working with the council because it is good work. The other thing is, you said 25,000 units, but with that, that's family. So we know that it's more people than that. And when you have people who are housed, who've been unhoused, they know what it's like and have the ability to help others. So we don't truly know the true number, but just keeping that in mind is that we are truly helping people and neighbors and others. So thanks for the staff and doing all that they do.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Councilmember Farrell, I don't want to put you on the spot, so I'm just going to rely upon you to let us know when you feel that you got something to say, because there's 4 of us today, so I don't want it to feel like we're pressuring people to talk.
No, that's okay. I just appreciate having that information. It helps inform me to be able to concretely point to the numbers and point to the outcomes and say, no, we are meeting goals. And that's coming at a time where it feels very much from the people who need the help that there's still a huge mountain to climb. So I know there's still work to do, but it is great to have that information and to celebrate those successes.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much. And we are now ready for public comment. We have 7 people who have signed up in advance, and we'll go through that list in the order that those were received. Just want to remind folks that this is a time for the council to listen, not to engage in conversation, questioning, discussion, any of those kinds of things. If there are issues that are raised in the course of public comment, staff are taking notes, and they will work between this meeting and the next meeting to be followed up on any specific issues or questions that are raised. If there are others in the audience who want to have public comment but didn't have a chance to sign up in advance, once we've gone through the folks who have signed up, we will open it up to anyone else who wants to, in the moment, sign up. Just reminder that we have 3 minutes approximately for everyone to speak. So please, in acknowledgement of your neighbors who also would like to speak, limit yourself to there, and I'll help us with a little bit of timekeeping. So the first person we have for public comment is Kimberly Horner.
Yes. Hi, this is Kimberly Horner, the Executive Director with the Portland Community Reinvestment Initiatives. And I am just so thrilled today to see our long-term project that we refer to as Kafori Court advancing in the system. When I came on board in 2019, Kafori Court had been sitting a little bit vacant and blighted looking, and I really recommended to our board of directors that we make this property a priority. Staff had initially tried several times to get funding for the project, and I have a team of people led by Jeremy Josted, Steve Van Eck with Second Stories, Nicholas with DRO, our own Andrea Debman, who is our property management director, and Austin and Garrett from our housing development team all worked collaboratively to get this project going. In addition to that, we've been working with Northwest Pilot Project to help support the project with regard to permanent supportive housing initiatives and the Black community of Portland. And so today this project is coming before you, and it's a very, very important project for the Black community. It's a very important project for senior citizens, and it's a very important project for those who participate in permanent supportive housing. So I want to also thank the council today for even considering this, and for staff for making a recommendation that this project advance. It's been something that's a long, hard process for our staff to get this one off the ground, and we will execute with excellence and maintain this project with excellence and provide excellent service to the residents that we intend on serving. So thank you for any consideration today. And I also want to thank Director Bell for being very instrumental in explaining to affordable housing nonprofits to just keep going, even though there are times when we feel like we've given it our all. She's been very encouraging in helping us stay the course. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Next is Rick Scholin. Rick?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, hi. Again, my name is Rick Scholin. Thank you, members of the council. I'm speaking today on behalf of the residents and tenants and the tenant council of the Milepost 5 studios. Basically, it's just a matter of the ongoing issues that we've been having, the lack of communication from both HCS as the oversight board and building management. We recently had a building management change, and it's solved some problems, but created many others. Communication is still an issue, and it's frankly driving us up a wall that nothing seems to be happening, even though we've been bringing these complaints and concerns for over a year now. That, you know, security is still an issue. You guys have, you know, cemented this funding, over $3 million of funding to CDP that appears to be without accountability, even though they were given money to do most of these repairs several years ago and they never got done. But there's no pushback on, you know, what happened to that fund. And it's just been an ongoing nightmare for us as low-income tenants, that our needs are not being heard. And it seems like all anyone cares about is the property owners and developers that, you know, seem to have all the power, and nobody cares about what's going on for the tenants. You know, we've asked for open review of the background checks because there have been multiple, you know, felons, some even with open warrants, who've been able to get into residency here, and there's no indication that any of the screening processes have been followed. It's just been battle after battle after battle, and we're all left wondering why we have to keep fighting the same battles, and why the government oversight is not stepping in and performing oversight. And that's really what it comes down to, is why this, you know, why we're the ones having to fight these battles when it's the job of the government oversight board. And we're, you know, continuing to ask that question: where is the oversight? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sarah Gerhardt.
Go ahead, Sarah. You are on mute if you want to unmute yourself. We can come back to you, Sarah.
Great. Amber B.
Amber, if you're calling in, please raise your hand, function *9. I do not see your name on the list. Oh, there we go.
Can you hear me?
Go ahead, yes.
Oh, sorry, you can't see us,
Good
yes.
morning, yeah, thank you, thank you. Good morning, council members and Council Lee and Mr. Yant. My name is Amber. I'm going to go with my first name. I'm a domestic violence survivor who has ongoing safety concerns. I applied for rental assistance in 2021. I'd like to communicate some of my concerns and then make a request. I'd also like to state that I first learned about the council back in in late April of this year, and I attempted to speak in the May meeting. For some reason, when I went to unmute, I was never unmuted. I reached out to find out what happened after all the public comments were done. I was told Shayla Chase was the Zoom administrator and left her a voicemail asking for guidance, which I never received. So I'm very grateful to be able to speak today because that didn't happen for me back then. I'd like to start off by quoting and talking a little bit about Governor Kotek, who states that accountability in government is one of the primary reasons she ran for governor. And she states that, quote, public service also means customer service, and that will be the focus of everything we do. I appreciate that sentiment, and I'm here to express my great concern with regard to the lack of transparency and accountability within OHCS, specific to the Oregon Emergency Rental Assistance Program. I didn't know of OHCS's existence prior to September of 2022, and only learned of it relative to the Oregon Emergency Rental Assistance Program, a federally funded program. And I also learned that OHCS had established a contract with PPL, Public Partnerships LLC, in September of last year. It's my understanding that OHCS is directly responsible for the oversight of this agency, or was directly responsible, and this was confirmed in conversations I've had with Ms. Jill Smith and Mr. Yant. The 14th Amendment to the Constitution guarantees that all persons in the United States are entitled to due process of law, which means we have the right to be treated fairly by people who are in positions of authority. Usually that means fair procedures. CPL as well as OHCS have not followed required program guidelines as outlined by the June 16, 2021 program guidelines that are housed in a state library. It appears probable that many of those who were denied OERA funds were deprived of their due process. In looking over OHCS's ORAP dashboard from May of 21 through December of 22, there was much success in supporting families and staying in their homes, and that should be applauded. However, there were over 40,000 households that were declined or deemed ineligible, and we take into consideration that 8% of these applications were either withdrawn or duplicates. The number of denied households appears to be a surprising 37% at the time of that snapshot. So I'm here to request that the council move forward to review the application process of the Oregonians that were denied assistance to determine if they were properly serviced and whether or not they received proper due process. And I'd like to complete my time by quoting Representative Bobby Levy, who stated in reference to OHCS prior to Ms. Bell's leadership, "You don't cover up inefficiencies by avoiding accountability." I'd just like to say again that I've made numerous attempts to speak directly with Andrea Bell through the only allowed manner, which is at the time for me from September of 2022 forward through Shayloa Chase. I've not gotten a single phone call or returned email from Ms. Chase, and I'd just like to note that for the record, and thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. Sarah Gerhardt, are you able to unmute at this point? All right, we'll keep coming back. Tom, Vincent.
I do not see Tom Vincent on the list. However, Tom, if you are calling in, please raise your hand.
All right, we'll come back. Amber Cook.
Go ahead, Amber.
Okay, hi, so you can hear me.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Okay, good morning, Housing Stability Council, and happy Friday to all of us. As a member of the Milepost 5 Tenant Council, I want to go through the OHCS Milepost 5 update for June. The first update is entitled Centering Tenants. It talks about the one tenant survey OHCS sent out, the one that exposes us to harassment and retaliation by requiring a trackable move-in date. This survey does not center renters, but made sure OHCS wouldn't hear back from Milepost 5 residents. In order to center tenants, OHCS would get updates from us renters every month and post them publicly. Elsewhere, it says OHCS has been working closely with Milepost 5 to rectify continuing community concerns. Who are you working with at Milepost 5? It's not the tenant council or anyone living at the property I know of. We are not centered when we're not consulted or heard. If you're going to claim to center renters, then work with us. Second update. It's a relief to read that some accountability will be expected with the grant of the $3 million additional dollars now. But when will we see this property improvement plan and accountability structure with actionable progress documented that is part of the transparency touted in these updates? We need to see it. The April Housing Stability Council meeting materials say that CDP was forced to spend so much money on seismic improvements that they had no money left for any other improvements to the building in the last 4 years. They spent $3.6 million on earthquake updates. Many of us would really like to see the invoices on that. I lived here during that construction in 2019, and it was not all that, and that's all there's been. Third update. Here and in all the updates, the owners are touted for bringing in Greater Good Northwest to work with residents in the community. And yet OHC Affordable Housing Leadership knows this is what the owner of Greater Good Northwest has to say about that. I am not involved because CDP would not listen and move forward with any remediation. I never took a dime from them and do not want to be involved in slumlord practices. They also have this to say: CDP seems to have no sense of urgency and no interest in truly investing into the safety and security of that community. Issues the whole time and elected to do nothing. I told them I viewed them as slumlords, so I found it best for myself and my organization to step away immediately. The owners bringing in Cornerstone Residential Services is touted, and yet Cornerstone is only there 1 day a week for 4 hours. Now, let's be clear, CDP has not expanded their services and is not funding the arts here. They applied for a grant to get free money to do those things. From what we can tell, they do nothing until they find free government money to use.
That's, we're at 3 minutes. So if
Okay,
you want to.
I'm almost done.
Your comment.
I am almost done,
great.
actually. Don't the owners need to be held accountable to spend some of the profits from the rents and tax credits to maintain and upgrade an old building to keep it livable for the people who rent here? And I just have to say, we are not being housed with dignity and safety, but we really want to be. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for taking the time this morning. Sarah Gerhardt, are you able to come off of mute?
She's still on the list, but still muted.
All right, we'll keep coming back. Tom, oh, Sarah, is that you?
I'm Sarah Cobian.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
You're on the list, Sarah.
Oh, it just told me that you guys wanted me to speak, so I thought maybe it was a name mix-up. I'm sorry.
I think there is also a Sarah Gerhardt. Tom Vincent. All
I'm
right.
looking for Tom right now, and I do not see him on the list.
Thank you, Shaloa. Neil Whitaker.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good morning, respected members of the council and Director Bell. This 2023 OHCS audit at Milepost 5 shows that you did look into a list of 10 problem units with our well-known felons, but you failed to uncover their criminal convictions. Most significantly, you even missed the felony sodomy 1 conviction that has been much discussed and that we discovered. So Guardian has even admitted in emails to OHCS that this felon was on an official studios lease. I don't know how this previously uncovered information is missing from this sort of much touted audit. Violent sex offense against a minor that appears in multiple emails between CDP and OHCS. But sadly, this is really not unique because you missed kind of a list of felony convictions. Felony conviction for theft in the third, 2019. Felony auto theft less than 5 years prior to move-in, which proved to be really a critical blunder in retrospect. A felony first-degree theft, 2017. Conviction for criminal mischief in the second, 2018. And a whole host of open charges, which in terms of the TSP are treated like they are convictions. Felony unlawful use of a weapon, 2021. Felony fleeing or attempting to elude, 2020. And several open charges involving harassment and menacing. On the Oregon Judicial Department website, there are eviction paperwork from Guardian evicted from the studios for these individuals listed. You were all alerted to the problems each was creating months before these evictions. We can see that mediation was discussed by CDP and OHCS and then shelved for some reason. It appears OHCS also did, as Amber mentioned, did the footwork to find Greater Good Northwest for CDP. Greater Good then quickly left, citing not want to be involved in slumlord practices. The public record additionally shows meetings with CDP and OHCS around concepts of strategizing and brainstorming this crisis. And I'm curious if you provide this much free PR consulting to all LIHTC owners. And I think to Amber's point, centering tenants would mean that tenants would write these Milepost 5 updates. I'm not sure that we are getting accurate information from CDP on the current situation at the studios. And we should have accurate information about the initial 3.6 million that basically disappeared into this building in 2018. OHCS needs to facilitate an independent and transparent audit of what happened at the studios before handing an additional $3 million in state taxpayer funds to a developer who has not shown that they can follow LIHTC and IRS regulations and manage a safe and affordable property at Milepost 5. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah Gerhart. Tom Vincent. All right, Sarah Cobian, please.
Hello, thank you, council. Sorry about the mix-up. We tenants of Milepost 5 do not have enough power for our individual units. We trade off who gets to use a toaster, a fan, air conditioning, or has lights. The 3 washers in our laundry room cannot be used at the same time. It pops the breakers, so we have to take turns doing laundry in a disjointed way. The fire doors either slam or don't close. City inspectors again this week found more than 200 issues that are not to code. We have lost open access to communal living spaces through stolen furniture, bug infestations, trespassers, and community infighting as resources shrink. We had rent increases on all the units, including rooms that have a single window and therefore cannot even have air conditioning. And I think that's appalling. The communal workroom they have taken away, which was intended for painting and building and where sculptures used to live and art storage, is now a maintenance room and storage for maintenance. No date of it being returned to us, though we've pleaded since it was promised to us when we signed our lease. We have no internet in communal spaces still after over a year of them telling us next month, or we are deciding on a vendor. This was a promise that was made to us. It was promised to each of us before lease signing and confirmed at lease signing, and is in posts that are trying to get new tenants on board. This is vital because, as we know, all job searches and applications at this point are now digital and have to be online. No real answer or accountability for background checks, which we have asked for several times, as well as new leases stating that they are not responsible for security in a publicly accessible building with communal spaces that get abused. About the issue of demographics of the building being accidentally transposed for pleas of funding by CDP seems disingenuous, and it seems kind of a convenient excuse. And it also appears to be racist gambit for money. If it's an honest mistake that was made, then why not publicly acknowledge it and redo the vote before funding is given? $25,000 for the arts is exciting sounding, but we all know that's a grant and it's not coming from CDP. I'm curious about where, how, who is making sure that money ever sees the light of day. We've been offered
That's 3 minutes. So if you want to finish your thought.
Yes. CDP doesn't move a financial finger without free money. We're tired of being in a slum, and they make money saying that we're artists. They make money saying that we are Black, pretending to be such a big help to the housing crisis when they are another contributing cause. They benefit from the poor. So what incentive do they have for changing it? We would love to live in safety and dignity. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah Gerhart or Tom Vincent, one last call. Shaloa, have we had anyone else raise their hand?
Yes, Judy Lind. Go ahead, Judy, you can unmute yourself.
Hi there, I'm with New Directions Northwest. I'm new to this, and for some reason, my hand got raised and I didn't realize that. But thank you for all your work that you do. And this is a tough thing. I'm the housing specialist here in Baker City. Yeah, it's coming along. It really will be, folks. So We just all work together. That's it.
Thank you very much. And our last speaker, Shaloa.
Okay, we have Stephanie. Sorry, I don't want to butcher your
Hi,
last
it's
name. Go ahead,
okay.
Stephanie.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Stephanie Ludes. I'm the new executive director at Rebuilding Together Portland. This is my first meeting. Thank you, chairperson and committee members. I appreciate the opportunity. I had connected with a couple of our state legislators and got connected to this. And one of the reasons why I'd reached out to them, we provide home repairs free of charge for homeowners who are financially and physically unable to make the repairs themselves. And in conversation with many of the other home repair organizations, I'll say specifically in the city of Portland, I'm learning that most of us typically don't have the funding to take on a roof repair. That may seem insignificant, but when people's roofs are actively leaking in their homes, that creates safety and health issues, which is our primary concern. And so I'm bringing it to your attention because it's a gap for many of the local agencies that are doing this kind of work. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Stephanie. And we have one other hand, Shaloa, or are we done?
Yes, Mr. Gideon King.
Thank you, please.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, perfect. I don't really have much to say. I don't have a speech prepared or anything. I just wanted to co-sign on a few things other residents of Milepost 5 have brought to your attention today, mainly security. Because I've seen our lack of security here firsthand. Leaving the building, there's a little courtyard you can go through, and there's a gate right next to where we would throw away our garbage. As I was going through to this gate, I see a hand coming through the door and just pushing on it. It's a door that you're only meant to be able to go out of, not come into. And it opens up, and there's a group of people waiting to sneak into my building to buy drugs. I stayed as long as I could to get security there. Unfortunately, security for us means that there's one person per district there, so we don't have 24-hour security. We don't have the people we need, and they're quite aware of our security guards' schedules. So they basically just come and go as they please. And it was told to me by security that they would bring up the fact that this door, this gate needs to be fixed, because honestly, it's just chicken wire and some plastic boards that they melted and the wire they cut. But yeah, and it's just sitting there unfixed where they can just come in and go and say, please. Now, every time I walk past that door, it smells like meth. And again, from my previous talks or speeches, public talks, I only know what that smells like after moving here to Milepost 5. And I don't feel safe here. I no longer feel safe here. Nothing's getting fixed. The doors are still broken to where people can't come in as they need to. There's a young man who moved here who doesn't have a fob because Guardian messed up so badly. They didn't teach FPI how to fix those fobs for people. So they're allowing him to use one that he can't use to come in during the weekends or after hours. It's good that they're helping him, don't get me wrong, but they're kind of struggling with what they've been left. I also feel it rubs me very much the wrong way as an African American to find out that money has been taken in on my behalf over a botched, over, yeah, I don't know, them saying that they have more Black tenants than they actually do, and then not taking accountability to give that money back or to actually use it to help the building. I don't know how that goes. Either way, I just don't feel right. Knowing that people can't use air conditioning, they're in tiny units where everything is broken. We're having a hard time doing our laundry. And they're just sitting on money, or they're constantly getting money that they're not using to help us. But yeah, that's all I wanted to contribute to that.
Thank you very much. With that, I'll do one more time. Sarah Gerhart or Tom Vincent?
We do have one other person who has raised their hand.
All right.
If you're on the phone or had not signed up for public comment and would like to make a public comment, please raise your hand. If you're on the phone, use the *9 raise hand function. Bill Kent, go ahead, please.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. I was using my iPad and I wasn't sure if that worked, but I'm from Cresswell, Oregon. And our problem is we're too small to get noticed, I guess. We're a town of under 6,000. And my concern is we only have like maybe 8 to 10 at any one time homeless. And as I talk to them and visit with them, one thing that kind of comes up is Section 8 housing. And it seems to me that it takes an inordinate amount of time to try and qualify for it. And yet Section 8 housing seems to be the fastest way to implement money. If the state has money for housing, expanding the Section 8 coverage or speeding up the process would, I think, do a lot in a small town. You know, we don't have the problems of Portland, and so we don't have the budget of Portland. And I think, I'd just like to say, I think small towns get overlooked. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Shaloa, are we one more, I see?
Yep, we have another hand raised. It's a phone call in. Go ahead, please. You are muted, caller. *6 will unmute you.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh my goodness, that was unbelievably frustrating. This is Sarah Gerhart. I have been like yelling at my phone and trying to get this to work and trying to get Zoom kept saying I wasn't in there. I'm so sorry. I apologize.
We're glad you're here. We're glad you're here.
Unbelievably frustrated, but I'm here. So yeah, my name is Sarah Gerhart and I'm a resident over here at Milepost 5 as well. I'm the founder and current president of the Milepost 5 Studios Artist Collective, or I'll just say MP5SAC for short. It's much less mouthful. I came to testify about all the positive things that are going on in our building, but I would be remiss if I didn't discuss some of our ongoing issues. So the building has a pervasive bug problem, and management said it's been taken care of. They said the common areas have been sprayed, but the problem is that it's so bad that isn't going to do anything. It'll be just a couple days and those things will be teeming with insects again. Meanwhile, they're redecorating the places, putting new furniture in there, and using our schedule on the back of flyers to lure people into renting without being frank or honest about the things in the building that are an issue, like the pest infestation or, you know, the asbestos or the unsecured doors. And it doesn't really give me confidence in CDP and FBI true intentions. If CDP were to like just take care of the situation now, it would probably end up saving the money in the long run, you know, for cost and time and of the staff and vendors and everything that happens. Cosmetic changes aren't going to fix the core issues. And if we did that, we'd be able to fill this place up with no problem and keep people here. No matter how clean you are here, you have roaches. It's just, there's been bed bugs in the past, and I think we may even have termites now. Are we going to be breathing in asbestos because of that? I mean, it's our sad reality. So to cover that in fresh paint and sell it as a great place to live and setting that as an expectation, it's just one that we can't meet yet. I think people need to have realistic expectations when they live here. If they do, then that might help. We've had a lot of trauma here at Milepost 5, and I think Portland in general is probably pretty heartsick. Honestly, all over the country, we're seeing unexpected side effects of COVID. And one of those being that isolation has made it difficult for folks to communicate in any kind of constructive way. People are talking at each other, not to or with each other. And I believe that arts is a great healer. And we want to help people remember this. As the Amish say, it's one of my favorite sayings, many hands make light work. We could do so much good for the arts, the community, and with some time and some care, we could push that forward and be a part of something bigger, helping the city to revive the arts. We just need to work together. Along with art shows, collaborations, and free workshops for our neighbors in Montevilla, MP5 SAC also attends 2 wellness fairs a week. We do art therapy with low to no income individuals, giving them a positive outlet. In doing so, I began to realize how much good a place like this could do. I would love to build towards helping some artists who are struggling to survive in a scary, scary time, to build a new life. We've been discussing this a little bit with both CDP and FPI in ways that we can make this happen in a structured and meaningful way. Our tenant-run nonprofit is ready to
Sarah, we're at 3 minutes, so if you can, Sarah?
I'm so sorry.
That's okay. We're at 3 minutes. If you want to finish your thought.
Yeah, I was just saying our tenant-run nonprofit's ready to do the work. We love this place. We're invested in it. We love the ability to create, collaborate, teach, showcase our work. We just want that CDP will put all their efforts behind the arts and the possibilities here. But first things first, let's fix what needs fixing and let's come up with some solid executable plans. Band-aids and quick fixes aren't going to do anything good. Let's just talk and really listen to each other. So thanks for your time.
Thank you. I want to thank all of the members of our community who came to offer public testimony. This is one of the bedrocks of our democratic process. So I appreciate people taking the time out of your days to come and make sure that you have an open forum to share and offer your reflections. And I can assure you that myself and all of the council members and OHC staff are listening. We are listening as well as we possibly can, and we appreciate and honor the fact that you came to speak with us today. Let's take all a deep breath. These are important and challenging sometimes, things to discuss with each other. We have a relatively short agenda today. We have 3 decisions that need to be made. And I'm going to suggest that if it works for the rest of the council members, we had looked at a break at 10:30. If we feel that the energy is good enough, I'd like us to keep moving so that we can get those 3 agenda items and decisions that have to be made done while we are still in quorum. So let me know how the energy level is going. I'll invite staff to get us quickly to the point of what you're asking for from the council with, of course, enough information that we can vote intelligently. And with that, I will turn it over to Jill Smith.
Good morning, Chair Lee, Deputy Director Yant, council members. Thank you for the opportunity to present to you this morning. I'm here with my colleague, Holly McGuire, and we're going to be seeking your approval of a motion this morning. And to request passage of this motion to support utilization of the emergency housing account funds that support emergency housing and shelter, wraparound services, and support for various service contracts and administrative expenses within housing stabilization. We want to provide you a little bit of background and context that will help you understand and result in the passage of the motion. The emergency housing account includes continuing service level year-over-year funding and document recording fee funds allocated to housing stabilization and governed by statute ORS 458.650. This statute, after many decades of remaining the same, has had significant updates in the last 2 long sessions, which is why we're here today. Following a discussion with DOJ about the impact of these statutory changes, Housing Stabilization has determined that the necessary course of action is to request council approve a motion that enables the release of EHA funding essential to the provision of homeless services across the state through the CAA network. The core of this statute is to verify that OHCS has determined each of the CAA recipients of this funding, A, has the capacity to deliver any service proposed by the organization, B, is a culturally responsive organization or is engaged in a process to become a culturally responsive organization, C, engages with culturally specific organizations, and D, supports local homelessness system planning efforts. Holly's going to give you a little bit more background about where we are.
Thank you, Jill. For the record, Holly McGuire, she, her pronouns, operations and policy analyst with the division. So the same bills that changed this piece of statute also launched and directed the Task Force on Racial Disparities in Homelessness, which published their findings in a report in March 2023. Launching off of those findings, SB 893, which passed this session, mandates that Housing Stabilization Division engage in efforts to modify the state's homeless funding structure in time to put out 25-27 state homelessness funding in a way that makes measurable impacts on racial disparities in homelessness. The memo included in your packet provides significant background on where HSD stands as we enter the new biennium and prepare for the changes ahead. As a reminder to Council, HB 2100 was pursued by OHCS with our values of race equity front and center. The task force reiterated the need for more directed and intentional work to ensure funding pathways to culturally specific agencies. At a minimum, we expect our grantees to be culturally responsive. Our housing stabilization teams are deeply committed to this work and have been taking developmental steps to prepare existing partners to learn from culturally specific and responsive partners and stakeholders about where we need to rethink and redesign historic ways of doing business, and to enable us to deliver outcomes from state funding that serve all our communities and show redress of clear existing racial disparities in service. This groundwork includes data collection and visualization that improves our capacity to clearly state what is happening with funds on the ground and why, and investment in capacity to take the critical next steps of identifying what we need to change and making the investments in targeted ways to make it happen. We just this week presented the outline of a data modernization project to CAPO that offers a radically increased visibility of statewide investments and outcome data. Our work also includes important investments in the 21-23 biennium for culturally responsive and specific organizations that we were able to continue funding in 23-25, even with the very specific mandates the division was given to direct most of our investments in alignment with emergency orders. These investments include funding to Urban League of Portland, the Oregon Worker Relief Fund, and IRCO, in addition to $10 million in directed funds to the 9 sovereign tribes. The work HSD staff are doing on the By and For initiative with the Native American Tribes of Oregon, also known as BAFI-NATO, is providing a tremendous opportunity for staff to learn and for HCS to build trust with the tribes and consider how the state can fund differently in ways that support the goals and needs of community. The Special Initiative Division work on emergency order funding is also innovating and exploring how to move funds differently and work with new organizations that will provide learning and scaffolding as that work is integrated into the Housing Stabilization Division when the EO ends. While state emergency housing account funding is moving to the CAA network according to formula for the 23-25 biennium, recipients have a new mandate with this contract to provide either documentation that they are culturally responsive or a plan for how they are building that critical capacity. The master grant agreement process requires that CAAs submit policies and practices that demonstrate their capacity to deliver OHCS services. Additionally, the agencies are required to self-identify how they meet the requirements outlined in 458-650 or minimally how they plan to meet those requirements. Responses are providing baseline data on CAA alignment with the requirements. Additional work is needed to further define clear, scorable criteria to move toward performance-based contracting. Jill.
Thank you, Ms. McGuire. So at this point in time, we're kind of straddling where we are today, which is doing the work that we've done the past several decades with partnerships with new culturally specific agencies, new opportunities for sharing data and requiring stringent data entry requirements and reporting requirements, unlike never before, and connected to that course of action with one foot kind of in both places. We are on a path to be where the task force and where the legislation has asked us to be, ready to fully implement these changes by the 25-28 biennium. That's where we're headed. And we've learned a lot as we've made these changes and implemented these new opportunities. We've learned that we need some assistance on this path, and we are in the process right now of identifying an agency that can help us with an internal assessment, help us to understand where we are today and where we want to be, and identify the gaps between those two, related to structure, related to positions, related to our goals and our opportunities, so that we can be successful and very intentional about these goals and objectives. These things won't just happen accidentally. We need to move into this space purposefully. So first, we're contracting for this organizational assessment to map out current state capacity, future state goals to meet the challenges of homelessness and eliminate as much as possible racial disparities that exist in our system. Second, building on these identified barriers, gaps, and opportunities, we'll launch the work to design outcomes-based funding strategies that will address persistent racial equity issues in our funding. We want to make impacts that will change, these disparities that we see across the state of Oregon. Meanwhile, we're back to today, to present state, and we need a motion from council allowing us to move forward with the EHA funding going to our CAA network partners.
Great. Thank you. Council member, discussion, questions, comments, reflections. Council member Mena.
Thank you, Chair Lee. I have just a couple questions in regard to the 4 items that the conditions that in order to award a grant. And that's sort of questions. I think it's more of a statement in terms of when we talk about capacity to deliver services, and when we're talking about culture responsive, I think there's a range of how one would answer those based on our experiences, based on those things. And so because of the range and because of different parts of the state may have different responses that are not the same, but there's my question is, how do you score, how do you grade that in a way that it does not punish those organizations that have not had the opportunity to be able to deliver and develop those relationships, and at the same time acknowledges those that have been on this course of cultural engagement and cultural awareness. So I guess my point is that however we structure this solicitation of this is that how that is going to be scored needs to be very transparent, so that the applicants understand exactly or have a good perspective of how they would be scored based on the responses.
Thank you. Other council members.
I would just like, I'm
please.
sorry, I didn't raise my hand.
No, go.
No, I would just like to add that I think, yes, this is a step in the right direction. However, it just seems kind of vague and doesn't have a clear definition. So I'm not quite sure how we would move forward, or I should say, what's the best approach to move forward to make sure that there are some additional guidelines or a metric of some sort to be included with it to help with the transparency.
Great, thank you. Councilmember Farrell, just making sure everyone's got time. All right, I have a couple of comments as well. I appreciate the presentation. It was very clear what staff are asking for, so thank you. I want to pull up a couple of things. I think missing throughout all of this is an overt acknowledgement that we're not only complying with the legislative mandate, we're doing this because of our values. And centering and starting with our values, having our values in the middle and the values in the end cannot be overstated or over commented on. So I want to push us to be able to do that. Secondly, we're using code language here, right? It was the task force on racial disparities in homelessness, and yet now we're talking more broadly cultural. We're talking about racially culturally responsive and racially culturally specific. And I say that not because I'm playing hierarchy of oppression, but because racial disparities are the ones that often are the last on the list of places where we pull our attention, not because we don't care, but because the systems are so enormous and built in and baked into us. So I would encourage us to be explicit, racially, culturally responsive, racially, culturally specific. Let's be very specific about that. If we want to be inclusive, inclusively racially, to talk about intersection identities, and the task force was the racial task force, not generally culturally task force. The last thing I would say is I'm not sure that we have significantly modified, back to the language, that we have significantly modified the allocation formula that we're about to enter into for the next 2 years of the biennium. I'm not clear on that yet. And I also would just say a personal opinion, which is any agency that is not now able to show cultural responsiveness, we should not be contracting with them. This is not a new issue. This is not a new subject. This is not something we haven't been talking about. At least let's put the pin in the sand since the statewide housing plan. So none of this should be new. None of this should be surprising. None of this should be catching anyone off unawares. We've often technical assistance, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. If we have an agency that we have assessed is not currently able to be culturally responsive in the most minimal places, I do not think we should be contracting with them. Now that might be language, right? There may be people who are very at the beginning of it and they're doing some organizations, but they're doing something that's different than trying to become. If an agency is unable to be culturally responsive, I will posit they are unable to serve their populations in the way they need to be served. None of that needs to have a comment. And again, I think there was no questions there for people to be asked. I think you're getting the benefit of the council's perspective and reflection on that. Caleb, I saw you maybe come off mute. Did I miss that, or did you want to offer something as well?
I didn't come off mute, but I just appreciate that. I think a bit of the piece to underscore here is exactly what we're getting from this conversation, right? I think there's the tangible motion that needs to be done to do the thing, and then there's the making sure the council understands the context of where we actually are at, where we want to go, and appreciate how we need to center that and how we need to be accountable to that.
Great. Anything else from the council? Is there a motion?
Go ahead, just a.
Oh, please, Councilmember Farrell.
So, Councilmember Lee, are you sort of speaking to the accountability? Like, what's the accountability if agencies continue to not demonstrate progress? Yeah, I guess I just want to second that. It seems to just be a kind of an ongoing question, is like, what are the actual accountability? We can talk about it for decades, but if we don't start holding people accountable, it's not going to get the change that we're looking for.
Thank you, council member. Anyone else? We can all, you can comment more times than one. It's not one and done. So if we need more discussion, again, I think this, I'm hoping this is helpful for staff to just see how the information is being received by the council and, you know, be able to sort of get that out on the table. All right. Caleb, is this a time sensitive decision that has to be made?
Yes, in order to legally release the EHA fund, this motion has to be passed. EHA funds.
Thank you. Thank you. A motion, please, from the council.
I move that we approve the motion as presented.
Thank you. Second?
Just for clarity, I heard that it is time sensitive and that it needs to be passed. So with that, I will go ahead and second the motion.
Thank you, Councilmember Rogers, and thank you for being clear about the purpose in which you are offering the second. Any further discussion with the council? Shiloh, will you call?
Absolutely. Thank you, Chair Lee. Councilmember Farrell.
Yes.
Chair Lee.
Yes.
Councilmember Mena. Councilmember Rogers.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. I would like to request that staff come back at our next meeting and offer some of the additional information that council members have asked for in terms of the metrics, the accountability practices, or the intent. I realize this is still forming, but a responsive discussion to some of the points that were raised by the council members. And I hope, again, this is not blaming or shaming. I hope you hear that this vote was taken because of the timeliness, not because council members felt assured of our direction. And it may just be we don't understand yet, and we would very much like to.
Very appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you both. Have a great Friday. All right, council members, are we ready to move on to the next without taking a break? Yep, thumbs up. All right, so our next agenda item is the Affordable Rental Housing Division. We've got two decisions here, and I will turn it over to Natasha.
Thank you, Chairwoman Lee.
You are not Natasha.
No.
Please, Rick.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairwoman Lee, Deputy Director Yant, and council members. In continuing with the theme for the day of others stepping in place, I am stepping in place of Natasha, who is on a well-earned break right now. So a few things that I would like to just touch base on before we turn it over to the presentations is first, I want to just provide a deep, heartfelt thank you to everyone who participated in public comment today. There is an update on Milepost 5 on the website. So if you haven't had an opportunity to look at that, please do. As outlined in that update, we continue to engage with Milepost 5, but everyone's public comment is heard and appreciated, and I cannot overstate that enough. Also, as Caleb called out, I think I would be remiss if I didn't also just thank leadership, staff, partners, and our stakeholders in meeting our 25,000 unit goal as outlined in the statewide housing plan. We're often so busy that it's hard to celebrate moments like this, but I think it's really important that we do and we call that out. We are, moving on to the next big thing. We know that there's so much more work to do, but at the time, this was just a huge mark that we weren't sure if we were going to be able to accomplish, and the fact that we did, I think, is just a testament to the entire state of Oregon, really. So then finally, I just wanted to call out that Affordable Rental Housing Division is in the process of redesigning our resource distribution process and have announced an important engagement series to solicit partner feedback. This engagement series will kick off on August 17th and end on November 9th with bi-weekly engagement sessions. Please visit our website and review our technical advisory for more information, but this is really important in partner engagement. We're really changing the way that we provide resources to our partners, and we really need partner feedback to make sure that we're taking in all the important information that you have to give when we make our determination on how to do that. And with that, thank you. And with that, we have a transaction and some PSH recommendations to present. So I'd like to hand over this to Roberto Franco, our Assistant Director of Development and Resources, to take it from here. Thank you.
Thanks, Rick. Good morning, Chair Lee and council members and Deputy Director Yant. As Rick just keyed us up, we have two set of recommendations to make today. I'll take the first one. It's related to the funding of Orchard Park Apartments. As we pointed out in the memo in the packet, back in October of 2022, the council approved the use of preservation resources in the form of GHAP, the General Housing Account Program, to help support the purchase of Orchard Park Apartments. The project had already expired its affordability, was beginning already, the owner at that time was beginning to lease a lot of the units at market rate. So it was timing for us to come in and be able to hold it back or bring it back into the affordable housing portfolio. At that time, the council approved it at a 60% AMI restriction. But as we went through the underwriting process for the project, it was determined that to put it on a good financial footing, to use the GHAP at 80% AMI restrictions instead of the 60%. The inability of the project to secure 4% and in private activity bonds to do the complete purchase, we used the state resources that you approved in October, and the developer went and secured private investment. And that really allowed us to bring it back and give time to developer to secure in a future couple of years or few years to secure the 4% and to bring it back to 60% AMI. We're happy to share with you that the purchase occurred. We have now brought it back into the affordable housing portfolio. And the developer has initiated the steps in applying for 4% that then again will bring it back to 60% AMI. So it's an exciting opportunity for the city of Salem to not lose 224 units. But because of our timing of closing, so we're not able to bring back this request of applying the 80% AMI. And that's what we're sharing with you today. And then the rest of the conditions in the elements of the project as you approved it in October of 22 remain the same. It's just this restriction that we, again, it's necessary to make sure that it's on a good financial footing. That's the background of the request, and our recommendation and our request for a motion is on page 7. But if you have any questions, I'll be happy to respond.
Great, thank you so much. So this is an affirmation of a decision that an action that had to be taken due to timeliness, and preserving units is one of the most challenging areas of work that we all share together. And I'm appreciative that we're able to be responsive and flexible so that these 224 units are still in an affordable space. So thank you. And any other comments or questions about the motion or the issue from the council? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. A second?
Second.
Thank you. Shiloh, you want to call the roll?
Thank you, Chair Lee. Councilmember DeFontorum. Oh, excuse me. Sorry, my apologies. I'm looking at my list. Councilmember Farrell.
Approved.
Chair Lee,
Yes.
Councilmember Mena,
Yes.
Councilmember Rogers.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. Our next
Thank
decision.
you. Yeah, I'll say thank you. So our next set of recommendations is also an exciting opportunity to share with you. We're slowly getting to the finals NOFAs of our year, but we have with you share a set of recommendations for permanent supported housing. As we've talked earlier today, the challenges in providing housing, it's still for many Oregonians. So we are pleased to be able to share and add more to the stock of affordable housing. So I'll pass on to Dana Schultz, our program officer for permanent supported housing. She'll make the presentation and the sets of recommendations that we're bringing today. Dana.
All right. Is my screen sharing? Let's see. Yep. Okay. There we go. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Chair Lee, Deputy Director Yant, and council members. My name is Dana Schultz. I am the program analyst for Permanent Supportive Housing, or PSH, in the Affordable Rental Housing Division. And today I'm here to share our funding recommendations for the 2023 PSH NOFA. So a quick overview of what we offered this year. We had $25 million available in PSH capital funds. Those are the Article 11Q bond dollars.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you. We've got a next slide column that's happening, and I think it might be easier for everyone to see if we can just go to the slide deck, the slideshow.
Apologies. Let me get that squared away.
No, that's okay. Things happen. It's probably my aging eyes.
Let's see, maybe I selected the wrong one, which is very likely. Okay. How about now?
Well, we see the slides, but we're not in slideshow mode yet.
Let's see. I really apologize. Let's see.
No, it's fine.
Okay, how's that?
Perfect.
Yes.
Alrighty. Okay, so we also offered $10 million in Federal Housing Trust Fund, so a $35 million offer in total. And we also offer project-based rental assistance and services funding in our NOFA. So we received 9 applications in total. We are recommending funding for 6 of these applications, and this would create 227 new PSH units in Oregon. And because some of these projects are integrated projects, this would generate a total of 327 affordable housing units in total. As you saw on the previous slide, we received almost $40 million in requests for development capital. This came along with requests for a little over $70 million in requests for private activity bonds. And we did only have $50 million in PABs available for PSH based on our funding calendar for the year. We had 267 slots of project-based rental assistance and services funding come in through the 9 applications that we received. We only had 210 slots available through this NOFA. I do want to mention that we had 3 applications come in who were only seeking project-based rental assistance and services funding. They had received their development capital from the 2023 preservation NOFA, or they were not seeking development capital at the time. And so we are planning to fund a portion of the oversubscription amount with both PSH funding that we have returned from another project who decided to utilize a different resource. So we were able to add an additional $7 million to the pot. And then we're also going to do a small forward allocation of the 23-25 biennial funding because of the significant increase in PSH funding that we saw from the recent session. So here are the 6 projects that we are recommending for funding today. The first is 3rd Street Commons. This project is coming from Corvallis Housing First in Corvallis. It is going to be 100% PSH project serving chronically homeless adults. It's going to be 46 new PSH units in Benton County. The next project is Kafori Court. This is going to be in Portland and is coming from Portland Community Reinvestment Initiatives. It's going to be 40 units of PSH in Multnomah County. The services providers are Northwest Pilot Project because they are focused on servicing seniors, and they're also partnering with an organization called the Black Community of Portland because they are serving African American seniors in Portland. And this is a 100% PSH project as well. The next project is Woodland Hearth. This is coming from Community Partners of Affordable Housing. The site will be in Tigard, and the service providers are both Community Action and NARA, Native American Rehabilitation Association. This is going to be an integrated PSH project. So it's 63 affordable housing units in total. 22 will be designated PSH, and it'll be in Washington County. And the next is Bridges on Broadway. This is going to be a Homes for Good project. Homes for Good is also the service provider at this site. It'll be in Eugene, and it'll be 100% PSH, serving chronically homeless adults. And 56 units will be added to the Lane County continuum for PSH. Next is the Clifford. The sponsor is Innovative Housing Inc. They're also going to be providing the services at this site. The project will be in Portland. It is an integrated project, 88 units in total. This applicant only requested rental assistance and services funding. So they're going to be adding 31 units of PSH to this site, and 53 PSH units will be operating in total at this project once that's all complete. And last but not least is Marine Drive. This comes from Clatsop Behavioral Healthcare. This project is in Astoria, and the services are going to come from Clatsop Behavioral Healthcare as well. It is 100% PSH, so 32 new PSH units in Clatsop County for chronically homeless adults experiencing severe and persistent mental illness. So we aren't rehabbing any projects from permanent housing to permanent housing, but we do have 2 projects that are flipping their project turnkey shelters into PSH. And so we wanted to stay consistent with providing racial demographic data for any type of shift in that manner. So this first project is 3rd Street Commons in Corvallis. They're going to be turning their 24 unit shelter into a 46 unit PSH project. We asked the applicants to provide 6 months worth of shelter data. So this comes from the early part of 2023. They reported 44 occupants, and you can see how their racial demographics broke out here. And the next is Bridges on Broadway. This project is in Eugene. So they have a 50 unit project turnkey site, and they are going to convert that into a 56 unit PSH project. Again, 6 months from the beginning of 2023 with 67 shelter occupants reporting racial demographic data, and they were able to share this with us. I'll leave it up for a second. So I did wanted to call out that this does bring us a little past our statewide housing plan permanent supportive housing goal of creating 1,000 PSH units. So adding these 227 PSH units to the pipeline would bring us to 1,358 PSH units, which is just a great place to be at. And we really thank our partners for really making all of this PSH come to life in our state. Wanted to share some policy analysis and new strategies we used this year with this funding for 2023. We did increase our subsidy amounts. There are no subsidy caps for the PSH funding, but we do award points for projects if they stay within different limits of subsidy requests. So this year we actually increased those subsidy amounts and decreased the points allotted to them. We wanted to incentivize projects to really request what they needed. We're learning that PSH is a lot more expensive in both construction and in ongoing operations. So letting projects feel that they could ask for what they need at the beginning could set them up for more success down the road. We also increased our expected operations costs in our application. And so we required projects to explain if they were not going to meet our operating cost expectation of $7,500 per unit per year. We wanted to confirm that applicants understand the true costs of PSH. And from this year, we have learned some things that we want to do differently next year. We want to implement a separate application process for those projects that are just seeking project-based rental assistance and services funding without the development capital request. OHCS staff are going to try to create a different process for this request, so it's easier for staff and easier for applicants to navigate. And we also want to bump up that operations cost expectation a bit more. We're really learning more about what PSH truly costs to operate. And so we're going to expect that projects are coming in at $8,000, $9,000, maybe even $10,000 per unit per year for PSH. And this has to be balanced out with us offering more resources around rental assistance and services funding for these projects to meet those new operating cost standards. So next steps for PSH, we hope today that the Housing Stability Council can vote on motions for approval of these funding recommendations. We also are going to see our current PSH Institute cohort graduate this September. We're excited about doing another PSH cohort with the Supportive Housing Institute beginning in early 2024. And we plan to release the next roll of PSH funding in the first quarter of 2024. Below are the motions for PSH funding recommendations. I'm here for any questions you might have, and thank you for your time.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for the presentation. Councilmember Rogers.
Yes, thank you for the presentation, Dana. I just had a question and needed help understanding what you meant in your presentation when you were talking about the turnkey. So it had a lower number and then they were going to a higher number as far as what that meant.
Yeah, my understanding is that projects are going to be actually adding space to the physical site that they're using. So they're using the hotel structure and then adding more units to that structure.
Okay, that's helpful because I was concerned that they were making them much smaller as opposed to increasing them. So thank you for that clarification.
Thank you. Councilmember Mena.
Thank you, Chair Lee. I only have a comment, and that is just this is a great slew of projects, and I have a very soft spot for Conforti Court, and I know that there were many attempts to get that project funded, and it's just so great to see this project come to fruition. And kudos to the director as well as Maxine, that was kind of the lead in this project early on and big believer in the project. So congratulations.
Thank you. Councilmember Farrell, any comments or reflections? Wonderful. I would just say this is a thrilling slate. I appreciate the presentation and the thoughtfulness. It's very easy to understand what's happening here. And on a personal note, for 2 of the project turnkey motels to turn to a permanent housing, this was the dream of all of these projects. And so to see them coming to fruition where we are moving from shelter based in a hotel to housing, and not even, you know, the sort of usual housing, but housing that supports permanent supportive housing, is a dream come true. So kudos to everyone there. We take these one at a time in terms of motions. Is that correct, Shaloa?
No, this is as a grouping.
Okay, great. I would entertain a motion for approval of these 6 projects.
I'll make that motion to approve these 6 projects.
Thank you. Second.
I'll second it.
Wonderful. Shaloa, the vote.
Thank you, Chair Lee. Councilmember Farrell,
Yes.
Chair Lee,
Yes.
Councilmember Mena, Councilmember Mena.
Yes.
Thank
I don't
you.
know what's happening with my mute button. I can't do it. Undo it. Yes, most definitely yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Rogers.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
All right, let's show a little love here. Congratulations to all the projects. All right, we are at the end of our agenda unless Acting Director Yant, you have anything that you would like us to take under consideration, or council members, if there's anything further for the good of ourselves.
Nothing for my chair.
Great.
I'd just like to say, great job. Keep doing the great work and yay.
Right on. Yeah, this is a great note to end on a Friday. I hope everyone is off, if not now, soon, to the start of their weekend that is full of rest and relaxation. Thank to everyone, and we will see you next month.
Thanks, everyone.